welcome back to this week's episode of the podcast. It's a little bit different this week. Joseph, he's right here next to me, but I'm not next to the table. If you notice, I'm not behind a table, but he's right here next to me.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you are.
No, I'm not. So we're just doing this one over video this week. This is not a permanent thing, but this is what we're doing this week of the podcast. So we hope it doesn't interfere with your normal viewing, but we're still going to have a normal conversation just like we always do. So, Joshua, what is the topic today?
We are talking about broadcast news. Let's just say that. Just very broad. News and media, how it differs from filmmaking, and we've both actually worked in news at some point.
Yeah, we did. So we've talked about this in the past. We've both gone to the same school. And the focus of that school was getting into broadcast media. And so usually at the end of that, they focus a lot on getting their students who are qualified and are able to internships, specifically at TV broadcasting stations around the area. And when I was going through the program a few years before Joshua, I finished that program off with a summer internship at a place called WBTV, which if you listen to the podcast, you'll recognize. But Joshua, he did the same program as me, and in so doing also got an internship, but it just so happens he got an internship at the same place I did, correct?
Yes and no. Yes, that's true. You got the internship. You worked for a summer at this news station in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Called
when
WBTV.
It came around for me to do it, it wasn't an internship. It was an internship, kind of, but I was paid. It was a job. Yeah. It was a full-time job, or not full-time. It was a part-time job. So you kind of went into it like an internship. You kind of did a whole bunch of things, just learning.
Yeah.
And I actually did one specific job, and I was paid. So I had a job there.
Yeah. So you got a job
going into it.
Did you say you did an internship there?
No.
You did.
Never
okay, so
interned. I just went straight into
a job. So you didn't get an internship while in the program. You just went straight into getting a job, working
into a job.
There. Gotcha.
But I was still going to school for a semester. So the summer semester, I worked there at night, and then I would get off at 7 o'clock, and I'd have to be at class by 8.
Gotcha. So pretty much to say, for a summer, I worked at WBTV, and Joshua worked there for, how long did you work there? A few years?
Almost a year. Like a month shy of a year.
Yeah. Okay. So that was kind of our initial step into the world of broadcasting. And so tell us a little bit, Joshua, what was your initial ideas and thoughts about the whole thing? You know what I mean?
Well,
or your experience there.
Not my experience before we get into that, because I want to say that towards the end. Kind of talking about how it's different from filmmaking. I mean, you're live. Yeah. It's live production. So something that's different, you're literally live for everything, basically. Well, not everything. What I did was shoot small video clips, and that was mostly B-roll shots. If you know what B-roll is, it's kind of like videos that are played while someone's talking in the background.
Just like extra shots.
Yes. Yeah. So mostly what my job was, to give it in context with like live media, was they would have a bunch of stories. They had like a lineup of what they were going to put in the show. And that was a loose lineup. They could, if something happened, like breaking news, they could throw another story in there, quick. But they had a loose lineup of the show. It was going to be like this story, and then it's going to repeat after like an hour. It's basically going to repeat itself. And my job was to go in to the lineup and attach video files of videos that the photographers went out into the field and recorded, just B-roll shots, and I would edit it together and put it in the lineup so that once the show started, the anchor would talk about the show, like they would be looking at a prompter live, reading it, and then they would be talking about like a house fire, and they would be talking what happened during the house fire, and then they would cue up this small 30-second video that I put together and show that while the anchor's talking, basically.
But you ran teleprompter sometimes, right?
I ran teleprompter.
Teleprompter always made me super nervous.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, because you're in control of this little dial that you control the speed in which the script is running through for people who are live on air. And that's kind of a nerve-wracking thing when you have these people who are relying on you to do it right, and you could easily get ahead or fall behind, and they don't have a script, you know?
Yeah. Well, actually, to be honest, I did several things. My main job was an editor to edit footage for the show if they had any breaking news during the show. If I wasn't running the prompter, because there was several different editors there at the time, and we would take turns doing the prompter. If I wasn't doing the prompter, I would be sitting at my desk waiting for breaking news to come in and throw footage, like video clips into the lineup so that they can put it on air like as soon as possible. Sometimes it would be like, because it was funny once the show started, there was a yellow bar, and it would cycle through the lineup, and you could tell where they were in that lineup live on air. Yeah. So you could see that, you could be like, okay, this video right here needs to be edited, and that's going to be live in like 30 seconds, and you could see the yellow bar kind of cycling down to it. And it's like, if you don't put video in there right now, they're not going to have any video.
Yeah, it's just going to be empty.
Well, not black. They had producers and directors that were trained to know if there was no video, if we didn't get them video in time, they could just cut to something else. Okay. Yeah, but it would look so much better if they had video and be better. And definitely if there was no video, when it got time to it, they'd be like, we got no video, who's going to throw video? And they would like call us and be like, get us video right now. And then there would be no video. And then during the commercial break, that was a big thing. During the commercial break, there's so much going on because we're still live and doing the live time, but we're not on air during the commercial breaks. So usually that's when you get cussed out because you didn't get video in the lineup during the commercial break. It's usually around like 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So
you get cussed out a lot?
Not cussed out, but we also had a meeting after the show, because we had a 4:30 show, 5, and then 6 till 7, and at 7 it was over.
Gotcha.
And at 7 we would have a meeting with everybody, the producers, directors, anchors, reporters, anybody that was there, and said, how do you think the show went? What could we have done better? And that was when, in front of everybody, they're like, hey, why was there no video in the lineup at that point? And you'd be like, because I messed up.
Yeah. I was very afraid of messing up. I don't think I ever specifically got cussed out by anyone while I was internship at that place.
Because you were an intern. They didn't expect as much with you.
They cussed out interns. I heard them. People I was interning with. It was just, I got really nervous about making mistakes. And so because of that, I made sure I didn't make any mistakes, but I wasn't there. I was there for probably about 3 months. 3.5 months.
Yeah, I was there for about a year.
Yeah, so my likelihood of getting cussed at was a lot lower because of just a time game. So,
and before you get into what you did, because I just want to say one more thing. I also did one more job that I had. I ran the live feed from the reporters that were in the field. Yeah. That they had these backpacks. They had it several different ways. They had backpacks that let out a signal that could feed video into the station by satellite, or they had a satellite on top of their truck like the truck on top of the news van, whatever car they were in, that also sent out footage. I mean, like signal that we could
back to
dial
the station
into.
to do live without interrupted live broadcasting.
Yeah, so they would
location.
We would be editing. We'd hear they had a separate room kind of close to where we were editing. We could hear some like ringing, like the reporter would be calling in, and we'd have to get up, go into that room, do a bunch of stuff, and kind of feed their video into the live feed so that they can do a live broadcasting from the field.
So that was part of your responsibilities?
Yeah.
Was that cool? Did you learn a lot, or was it pretty simple?
It was simple, but I did learn a lot when it came to feeding signal, broadcasting, things like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, the way they have to do it today is a lot more simple than they did a couple years ago, even because they used to have the dial on top of the car, and they would put it in circles until they pointed towards the station, and they would be like, okay, we're pointing towards the station, just spin it a little bit more, it'll be more clear signal type thing.
Yeah.
And that's old technology, man.
Yeah. Actually, I actually went out because when I was interning, I asked them, they kind of let me do a little bit of a few things I was interested in. I wasn't assigned to one thing. I started out doing the whole editing and teleprompter and something similar to what Joshua was doing when he was working there.
Yeah.
But I didn't do that very long. I asked after a while if I could get on the video so I can get behind a camera a little bit. They didn't let me behind a camera very much. I was mostly like sitting there with the videographer and like holding stuff, which was a bit of a bummer. But pretty much during that time, I was able to see the technology, like you were saying with the backpack that send signal to the station. I was there on the shoot where they used that for the first time. Because they were always just using, the first time they used the backpack, because that was newer technology.
Well, the very, very first time, or was it like
the first time that station?
That reporter.
No, the first time that station, because I was with a guy who was, one of the more senior videographers, right? And it was actually towards the end of my internship at the end of the summer, and they said, hey, we got a couple of these new backpack style things that's a little bit more easier and accessible to send signal back, and it's easier to work with. So they said, we want you to dial into the station with the truck like you normally do, but we're going to try to run it off your feed from the backpack, right?
Yeah. And
I don't know how he did it, but I was there with him, and they gave it to him because since he was older, he could do things quicker, and he had more, they trusted him a little bit more with handling it correctly. They let him do kind of like a test run, and it worked out nicely. I remember that was close to the end of my internship, so I was familiar with that. All of the summer before that, we were always just using the satellites on the trucks.
So you went out into the field, but you also did some editing too.
Yeah. I went out in the field and helped with a number of shoots. They weren't super interesting, which probably leads us into kind of what were our thoughts and feelings about broadcasting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I will mention real quick, I do currently work at a place called CBN. It's Christian Broadcasting Network. It's my day job, and it's in the world of broadcasting, but it actually feels a little bit different. I think the thing that
well, you don't work in the live broadcasting part of it, right?
I am on a rotation that I get behind a camera sometimes.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, sometimes, but I'm on a rotation. I think I've only done it once since starting. 1 week, like a full week of doing it in the mornings. But I actually don't mind it at the place where I work because it doesn't really feel like broadcasting. It feels kind of like we're producing like these documentaries almost in the form of being put out on television, you know? It's not so much of like that live news, like rushed, throw it together feel. It's kind of, they take a bit more time and they make things look pretty well, and it's more for like a daily show as opposed to like a daily news update, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, although they have those, it just feels a lot different. And so I actually enjoy pretty well what I do at my current job, even though it is still broadcasting. But I'll say that just so people are aware, when I'm talking about broadcasting, when I say what I feel about it, I'm not necessarily referring to my current job, because my current job doesn't really feel like broadcasting, honestly.
Yeah. Something I wanted to talk about to kind of the last couple minutes of this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
What was the craziest thing, or just a story you have from when you were there? Because it's
at WBTV.
Yeah, WBTV, or even the current job, just something interesting.
It's not that crazy.
But, well, it was news, like WBTV, it's news, and a lot of breaking news or things happen while you're in news. Is there any just stories you wanted to tell about your time there? Because I don't remember having a conversation with you kind of ever, being like, this was what happened. And I have one that you're probably going to be like, what the heck, that happened when you were there?
Yeah.
And you probably
had a couple things that happened that I'm sure you probably don't want to mention. But the weirdest thing that happened while I was there was I was probably, how old was I? I was probably 17. Maybe I was probably just turning 18, right?
Yeah.
While working there. I probably turned 18 while I was there. And I went, we were doing this story. I don't remember what it was for, but we had to go into an adult store that had that had like all of the, adult toys and whatnot, and movies and stuff all in there to record B-roll, which was pointless because the end result had everything blurred.
Yeah, they can't show that.
They can't show that. But they wanted us to get B-roll and an interview with a guy that was there. And so I remember going in and I'm just like, oh, I'm fresh into adulthood, you know what I mean? Still a teenager. And I'm just like looking around, trying not to blush, trying to be like, I'm cool. This doesn't surprise me. But it certainly did. I mean, I'd never gone into an adult store before, and
That's
I had
funny.
the first time going in, I had to, video. I had to help while I was on the job, and so it was a bit weird. But that's the most interesting thing that I can recall that happened to me.
Well, my experience, I'm gonna take it in a different direction because I didn't go out into the field or anything like that. I didn't edit anything risque or like a naked dude that I had to blur out, I don't think. I think that might have happened, but I wasn't involved.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
But one of the craziest, or something that was very crazy that happened when I was there, I would come in around 2 a.m. every night to edit the show for 4, to start our show at 4:30.
Mm-hmm.
When I got there at 2, actually I got there a little before 2, and they were like, something just happened around like 12.
What was it?
There was one of the reporters that worked at WBTV.
Mm-hmm.
They were at the police department for another story that they were doing, and they were getting an interview from one of the police officers there. But they had already gotten their interview from the police officer, and they were sitting in their car and just waiting, trying to get the footage or whatever they were doing in their car. And as they were sitting in their car, literally like right next to them, this gunman like walked right past them through the glass, like probably a foot away outside of their car, and walked past them and started opening fire.
On the building or on the car?
Not at her. It was at her, not at the reporter, at the police officers and at the police station. She was sitting in the parking lot in her car. And because they walked right past her car, as soon as that happened, she kind of just pulled out the camera because she had everything right there and started recording.
Did anyone get hurt?
Yeah, there was people that died.
What?
And
in Charlotte?
In Charlotte, you can probably look this up. I worked there, I think, 2017, I think was the year I worked there. So it had to have been fall 2017, something like that.
Gosh,
you probably could
man.
find this story. But
that is crazy. And did they actually use some of the footage they got?
Oh, they used a lot of footage. But
okay.
She was there, and because she was on ground zero basically and had all this footage, another part of our job was we would collect like other stations. We could send and use other stations' footage, but we had to give them credit for it.
Yeah.
Like that's what you see on a lot of times up in the right-hand corner. It's like WBTV or filmed by this person or something like that. You have to give them credit for that. Because we were WBTV and we were there, everybody wanted footage from us because a gunman and like a shooting at a police station was a huge thing. Yeah. So we had to send a ton of people footage. Plus, everything went on. So when I got to the station around a little before 2, it was just a madhouse. Everybody was there. Like they had called other people to come in that usually weren't there because it was such a big story. And people were there getting sent stuff out, getting the footage edited together and everything like that.
Yeah.
And everything, I mean, the shooting itself had calmed down by the time I got there. But everybody was still hectic because they're like, we're going to be on air soon and we're going to show all this footage and stuff like that. So that was a huge thing that happened when I was there.
You know,
and
I think
there was shots like someone who was dead, bleeding and stuff like that. We would always have to blur out.
Yeah,
because you can't show that on news.
I think something that really I think something that I find really like I don't like broadcasting for the most part in the news world. I don't like that. A big part of it is for what you just said. Literally, the real world is literally the movie Nightcrawler. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's people who get really insensitive about things that happen, and it literally becomes like this thing where people just don't care about people involved with some of these things, like what you just said. You know, it's more about like how many people are going to view our story that we've posted, and it's just and we have video to go along with it. If you watch the movie Nightcrawler, you know what I'm talking about. It's a rough film, but it's like the real world. It's a great movie, but it's really dark, and it's sad to see that there's like that kind of stuff happens. I think overall my feelings about broadcasting is pretty if it's an environment where it's just like news and you just got to get the thing and put it out there and hurry up so we can move on to the next thing, and it's like breaking news and that's all that they're trying to sell. I don't like that environment because there's nothing creative about it. Usually everybody you work with is like tired or annoyed or really pissed off at everybody always. And I just didn't like the environment when I was there. I know you were there longer, so give me your feelings about broadcasting.
I think I'm kind of the opposite. I enjoyed it, and I like the live aspect of it. I think that it's great. For some reason, being at such a fast pace and having to keep up, it definitely keeps you entertained, and you're never bored when you're working there.
So that's
what I thought. Yeah, I liked it. I would say there is a news aspect to where, not that you get desensitized all the time, but you are in the news all the time. So you are getting all the information of all the news that's coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So you're always constantly up to date and you know all the news and stuff like that. But I enjoy it.
Okay.
For some reason, I like live broadcasting. I think it's something that I like. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to the hours. The only reason why I quit because the hours weren't great and just some personal things that happened to me during that time. So,
well, as you can see, I guess me and Joshua, we don't always have the same opinion on stuff.
We don't,
but that's okay. I really didn't like the environment. I just prefer slower moving creativity. And so it wasn't my environment. But like I said, the job I'm at now is pretty it balances it really well. So I do enjoy it. But I'm going to go ahead and close us off on this episode. We really appreciate you guys watching. We hope that you found this entertaining and, interesting to me and my brother, who's worked in the broadcasting world between us both a number of years at this point. And so, we hope that you enjoyed it. Feel free to go ahead.
Can we give them a little taste or just let them know what is going to happen in the weeks after this week?
Yes.
Because they need to know about this. Something we haven't really talked about yet. This midnight special that's coming up, it's going to be episode 99. So episode 100 is going to come up very, very soon.
Yes.
Within 2 episodes.
Yeah.
3 so after that episode 99, we are no longer going to do 2 video form podcasts a week and 1 midnight special. We're going to still keep the midnight special as the same as we always do. Yep. But we're going to do a longer video. We're going to do 1 video that's an hour and a half long, like the midnight special, but it's going to be video form.
Yes.
And in that episode, we're going to have some special things that you're going to have to come and find out what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But for now,
we're trying to spice it up more. We're trying to give you guys more entertainment and more. Honestly, we want to grow our audience, and we appreciate that you guys are here, but we want to grow out a little bit more. And so it will give you guys something a little bit more shareable, something that's a little bit more entertaining, hopefully, a little bit more structured, but not in a bad way, just in a good way to make the show better. I think we'll probably still be coming out with that on Tuesdays. And we're probably going to eliminate the Friday video episode because the midnight special will be coming out on Friday nights. So we should have episodes out each week when season 6 happens, starting with episode 100. Yeah.
Yep.
Twice a week. Podcast episodes twice a week.
Yeah. So be looking forward to that. It's going to be an hour and a half long, and that's going to be exciting. So, but you still have 1 episode left of about around 30 minutes long. That's going to come out this Friday, and then the midnight special, and then episode 100, where we do a little bit of crazy things that we've already filmed and you don't know about it. We threw in a little bit of crazy crack dad stuff in there, and we also have a secret.
A secret.
Okay. So come back for episode 100 and 101.
Okay. So thank you for subscribing if you haven't already. I know about 40% of you guys watching are not subscribed. So we really appreciate it if you would subscribe. Follow us on Spotify, where the Midnight Special is exclusively, and the audio versions of this episode. So thank you very much for listening, and we will see you on Friday for the last video episode of Season 5.
Yes, sir. Have a good day.